What's up, duelists? How's it going, everybody? How's it going? Today, I'm covering the top 15 tech cards in Edison format right now. We're going to be backing up with some stats. We're going to be backing it up with some pro players' opinions. You know the vibes. You know the vibes. Of course, if you guys aren't already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe right now. On our way to 7K, I really want to hit 10K by the end of the year. Huge goal, huge goal. Also, if you've enjoyed my few Pokemon videos I've uploaded in the past, on my second channel, uploaded a brand new Pokemon video that goes crazy, playing this super sick Sableye Charizard deck if you want to check that out. Okay, on to the video. If you guys want to skip to the end, just see the list of cards. I respect it, right? I respect the hustle, I respect the grind, but honestly, a lot of these cards are only good in certain contexts, so I'd say stick around and hear the explanation. Watch the video all the way through. That's my 2 cents on the subject. All right, let's go ahead and get right into things. The first tech card I want to talk about is Imperial Iron Wall. I got my phone notes pulled up. I got the research for this one. Imperial Iron Wall is actually a solid card. It's actually a solid card. It stops a lot of stuff that's going on right now. The first big thing that it stops that's going on right now is Caius the Shadow Monarch, second most played card. It also stops Bottomless Trap Hole, provided it's not being chained to Bottomless Trap Hole. If it's already face up, Bottomless Trap Hole can't be activated. If you're chaining it to Bottomless Trap Hole will still destroy the monster that's being summoned. However, Bottomless Trap Hole cannot be activated if Imperial Iron Wall is already face up. Bottomless Trap Hole, first most played card right now. So, top two cards most played right now, stopped by Imperial Iron Wall. This also stops Deprison, which is a very popular trap card, and it also stops Blackwing Vayu, which is a very popular deck. We're going to be talking a lot about Blackwings today because in the last big tournament, it was the most popular deck. And I don't even think that it's like that much better than the next best deck. And I actually think that there are some decks that just absolutely roll that deck. So it's kind of weird to see a homogeneous metagame in a format where I think you could build any deck in a way to beat any deck. But as of right now, the metagame is mostly Blackwings. So a lot of these techs are going to be cards that destroy Blackwings. Imperial Iron Wall, of course, you can't play it in everything. That's the biggest issue. You can't really play it in Vayu Turbo because it shuts off your Caius, shuts off your Vayus, shuts off your whatever. It's hard to play it in Blackwings. You can play it in Blackwings. I think it shines best in X-Sabers and Flamvell. I heard from a very powerful player, ProStorm, that he's used it to great success in X-Sabers at stopping Bottomless on his Airbellum and Caius on his set Embers Blades and Nox and all this other crazy stuff. And then I've used it in Flamvell. When you have Stardust plus Imperial Iron Wall, it's actually a really difficult board to break, as long as you're also like doing some other stuff in the meantime. Okay, next tech card I want to talk about. That's number 15, Imperial Iron Wall. Next tech card I want to talk about, Consecrated Light. Consecrated Light. So if you looked at the top 8 of RBET5, it was 7 Dark Arm Dragon decks, which means 7 decks out of the top 8 are playing a ton of dark monsters. A ton of dark monsters. Consecrated Light is only really good against the decks that are playing all dark monsters, but it has some niche applications here and there. I think it does best in decks like Lightsworn, decks like Flamvell, decks like Fairy, where you can either easily tutor it. You can actually play this card in X-Saber as well because you play 1-for-1, or Frogs because you also play 1-for-1 there. You basically just want to play it in decks that can easily tutor it, either with Sangin, with 1-for-1, with the Battle Recruiter, and then also can back it up with pressure. There's a really interesting lock versus Blackwings with Consecrated Light, Royal Decree, and any monster that attacks. This basically locks out their whole deck. The only way they can get around it is by somehow surviving by setting 2 monsters and then flip summoning them and then making a Synchro that can attack over the Consecrated Light. Or if they play Book of Moon, which most lists have cut for some reason, a lot of lists have cut Book of Moon. I'm just saying, it's a little bit of a weakness to Consecrated Light if you start cutting Book of Moons. So yeah, this card is pretty good against most Blackwing decks, I will say. Okay, that's number 14. However, it's not the best against the Vayu Turbo decks. They have Raikou, they have Hamster. Got to be a little bit careful there. Card Trooper. They have some ways to get over this. It still is good against those decks, but not quite as good. Okay, next tech card I want to talk about is actually an extra deck monster. Thought Ruler Archfiend. Not everyone makes the space for this card in their extra deck, but I think right now he's at his best. I'm going to talk a little bit more about some trap cards that target in this format coming up next, but basically he stops a lot of trap cards that target, a lot of spell cards that target, he stops Brain Control, And then most importantly, actually, I think gaining life points is really important in this format. Putting yourself in a position where it's difficult for you to get reversal OTK'd even when your board is broken is very important. There's a lot of ways to just break through boards, so just making sure you're stable enough where you can come back and you're the last person coming back and you have the life total advantage. It's actually really important in this format. So I think this is definitely one of those cards you should strongly consider. We saw it win a lot of games in top 8 in RBET5. Definitely a card to think about. It is a little awkward. It doesn't stop Icarus attack because it only stops cards that target one psychic monster and no other cards. But hey, you got to take what you can get. It can stop Deep Prison. It can stop Book of Moon. It can stop Brain Control. It can stop Compulsory Evacuation Device. And speaking of Compulsory Evacuation Device, number 11, number 15, 14, 13, 12. Number 12 on this list. Compulsory Evacuation Device. This card is very good. I like this card particularly right now against Vayu and against Blackwings because it's a positive tempo card. And I like it in decks that can deal a lot of damage up front. Namely, I really like it in Dragons, I like it in Blackwings, and I like it in Machines. These decks are capable of putting up 4,000 points of damage, setting a compulsory and saying you have one turn and you don't get a normal summon or I'm going to kill you on the next turn. I think that is especially where this card shines. This card is not good when you're trying to play out a grindy game. Maybe it can be, maybe it's okay. It's just kind of bad because it's card disadvantage. You don't want to be using card disadvantage on something like a goblin zombie when you're trying to grind out card advantage, that type of thing. This card is better when you're going for big swings, big tempo pushes, trying to set the opponent back footing to where even if they have card advantage, they still can't come back because they can only make one play. They're chokeholded on their normal summon, stuff like that. That's why I really like this card. I think it's a powerful card moving forward. I also think it pairs well with some of these other cards you see in the list so far. I think it pairs well with Consecrated Light. I think it pairs well with Imperial Iron Wall. I also think that you want Thought Ruler so you can have something to counter opposing compulsory evacuation devices. As the format gets a little faster, as the format gets more about speed, gets more about aggression, compulsory evacuation device is going to be one of the best cards to get tempo back in your favor in a game. Okay, next card. Similarly, Neospatian Granmole. This guy, very similar to compulsory evacuation device. However, I kind of like this card in different contexts. I like this card in grindy decks. I like this card in decks that are trying to slow down the pace of the game. This card can help you deal with synchros like Stardust Dragon. It can help you deal with set monsters that are very annoying like Spear Reaper, Pyramid Turtle from the zombie deck that's very popular right now. It can also help you deal with just anything that's in your way. It's one of the few cards that can answer absolute 0 at a +1 card advantage, which is very nice. It can clear hamsters. It can clear whatever 2,000 defenders are in your way. It's a pretty solid card. If your deck needs that extra little bit of push potential, I think this card is a card for you. You just gotta be careful. You gotta be careful with this card because it does lose to a few things here and there awkwardly. It doesn't love being booked. It doesn't love, you don't love it when you're behind on tempo. So you kind of need to have like a little bit of speed to back it up. I like it in decks that can special summon, decks with Cyber Dragon, or decks that hold the board position really well, decks with battle recruiters like Fairies or like Ratbox especially because you can tutor the Spatian Granmole, or just stuff like Gear Town. I like it in the Gear Town decks. Decks that can make another play in the same turn they summon the Granmole. That's where I like this card. You got to be a little bit careful when playing him. This is not the easiest card to pull off. Okay, the next card I want to talk about is Noblemen of Extermination. This is a card that I particularly like in decks that don't lose to Royal Oppression or don't care about Royal Oppression. This is a card I could probably see seeing play in maybe Hero Beat, maybe Vayu Turbo or Blackwings, and maybe even Lightsworn. This could see a lot of play in those. I think you got to be careful in Lightsworn because you risk running this into a Light Mirror. But outside of that, I think Noblemen of Extermination is actually kind of a hot card right now. The Blackwing lists that are very popular right now are only playing 8 trap cards and 3 of them are Icarus. So if you Noblemen hit 3 of their Icarus, all their defense is out the window. And you can make your powerful plays. You can summon your Haymakers uncontested more or less. It's pretty good. Just extra copy of MST. It's fast. It does not clear Royal Oppression. You got to be careful of that. So like I said, I think it's better in decks that don't care about Royal Oppression, but solid tech card. It did have some positive results in the RBET Top 8, most recent RBET Top 8, and I think it's a card worth considering if it's in your deck. Okay, or if it's in your deck, worth considering. That doesn't make any sense. Keegan, what are you talking about? Keegan, what are you... Next card. Legacy of Yatagarasu. This card is cool. So we've seen a couple of results with this, or similar things to this. Let's go ahead and take a look at those results. This is a 17th place Flamvell Cat list from RBET5. He's got 2 copies of Legacy of Yatagarasu in the main. The reason you want to have these is because it's a chainable way to sort of bait your opponent's Icarus attacks, bait your opponent's heavy storms, bait your opponent's spells, spell and trap removal like Dust Tornado and Space Typhoon, bait stuff that, pops the back row like Raikou, and then you can draw an extra card and sort of like force their removal out and then go for your play after that would normally lose to the removal. Set your Solemn Judgment after that, after their heavy storm is gone, basically that kind of thing. It baits your opponent into making suboptimal plays, and it keeps you, keeps you drawing through your deck at a reasonable pace too. I like it because as opposed to something like Upstart Goblin, which does give you speed up front, to be fair, gives you speed and consistency up front, Legacy of Yatagarasu can give you actual raw card advantage, which is why I'm pretty happy with it. Another place where it topped is in Deck Devastators, very recent, pretty large Edison tournament. I believe there was like 150 people in this tournament. There was 2 copies of Jar of Greed in Yomero's Gladiator Beast list. I actually think Legacy of Yatagarasu, this card is strictly better. And yeah, I know spirit monsters are not that common, but there are actually some spirit monsters that do come up. Namely, Dark Dust Spirit. Dark Dust Spirit out of Frogs is a card that does see play, and Yamada Dragon. Yamada Dragon out of Dragon. So there are a couple of spirit monsters that actually do see play. Also, Chainburn can be on copies of Aneba White Rabbit, and Chainburn has definitely gone up in popularity recently. It's still not the most popular deck, but there are some chances, there are some opportunities where your Legacy of Yatagarasu is actually going to draw 2. So it's just strictly better than playing Jar of Greed. Yomero probably didn't realize that there was a strictly better option at the time, but I do like the tech. I do like the concept behind it. It's kind of a tech as old as time. It's something that's been done in GOAT format in the past to sort of bait out Breaker, bait out Space Typhoon and Heavy Storm. So it's kind of cool to see that concept of gameplay move into Edison format. I think it's a strong adaptation, especially in today's meta when there's just so much removal going around. So much removal. Okay, next card I want to talk about is Book of Moon. This card has no business not being in people's deck right now. This card is crazy. People want to know how to beat Blackwings. This is the card. This beats up on Blackwings. This card says, no Whirlwind Search, your Collude is dead, I'm going to run you over plus ratio. All of the Blackwing monsters have very weak defense. This interrupts synchro plays. This interrupts, of course, the Whirlwind Search turns their Whirlwind into card disadvantage as opposed to card advantage. It stops them from activating the Klutz in their hand, which is something that a lot of decks have trouble dealing with. And then on top of that, Book of Moon has a lot of utility in a lot of other areas. Like, it's a proactive spell that you can activate on the second turn of the game. Let's say your opponent starts the game with Shura. Do you attack into the Shura with your 1900 monster, or do you attack and then book it, guaranteedly clear it? You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like what I'm thinking about here, more or less. I just think this card has insane utility. I could write a book, no pun intended, on how much utility this card has. Helps you play into Deep Prison, which is super popular right now. Helps you deal with just all sorts of stuff, really. All sorts of stuff. This card is fantastic. It should definitely see more play. I think in the Blackwing Mirror, having more copies of Book of Moon than not makes you a large favorite. Makes you a large favorite in the Blackwing Mirror. Even if you're getting 2 for 3 Icarus attacked, it is still fine. And that brings me to the next tech card that I think people should definitely be playing more of, is Starlight Road. So Starlight Road is one of those cards that is opportunity cost is pretty high. This card is not always active. Unlike cards like Book of Moon, Yatagarasu, or not Yatagarasu, obviously that card, Legacy of Yatagarasu, Compulsory Evacuation Device, Starlight Road is pretty frequently a dead card. However, when it is not a dead card, it immediately wins you the game. And in this metagame, where everyone is bringing triple Icarus attack, I'm totally quoting Pro Storm. We had a conversation about this earlier. I'm just stealing all the words he said. But in this metagame, when everyone's playing triple Icarus attack, everyone's playing Heavy Storm, everyone's playing Mirror Force Torrential, Starlight Road is insane. Starlight Road is crazy. It's so good. Plus, just like a lot of these plays where you're just like, I'm going to commit into an Icarus attack, they get so much better when you have Starlight Road set. There are a lot of really unique plays using Starlight Road that I want to talk about. One of them is the classic Starlight Road bait, the Pro Starlight Road. You can set Starlight Road, Lone, going first, pass the turn. On the following turn, set an additional card. Your opponent will play into the Starlight Road. I guarantee you. They always do it. That's the Pro Starlight Road. You've heard about the Pro Storm. That's the Pro Starlight Road. Set Lone Starlight Road pass. This card is nuts. It's also pretty good against like Lightsworn. The Judgment Dragon stops that. Stops, Black Rose Dragon. Stops a lot of the like field nuke stuff that's going on in the format. So I think this card is just definitely something that should be on your radar, especially in this metagame with all the Icarus attack going around. Like, this card is just crazy. It's not the best against zombies, I will say. It's not the best against zombies, which is one of the more popular decks in the format. But it does have targets there. They do play Torrential, Mirror Force, and Heavy Storm. So it's not completely out of the question that you get to activate a Starlight Road, especially if you're using it to protect a Floodgate, which brings me to the next card. Level Limit Area B. Level Limit Area B. This card goes crazy. This card absolutely flips the metagame on its head. There are only a few decks that can really effectively play this card, but if you can effectively play this card, it is disgusting. It beats entire strategies on its own. It forces removal. It demands removal. If you're backing this up with something like a Starlight Road, some matchups are unlosable. It's crazy. This card, I think, is at its best in X Sabers, which is a deck that sees way too little play. That deck is crazy good. Crazy good. But it also works well in some other strategies as well. I think it actually does well in anything with like Trigodia, anything with like, there's little monsters that like to attack. Six Samurai is a deck that I've seen Level Limit Area B have a lot of success in, actually. I kind of got body bagged in a mirror match recently. I was playing Six Samurai for fun. Deck's terrible, but if you add Level Limit Area B and Gravity Bite, it's actually kind of heat. Protect your Yaichi, pop every turn, attack. It's kind of crazy, actually. Hand of the Six Samurai gets under level limit. This card is a house versus Black Wings. It's also really cool because this card has an effect up front. It's a Floodgate on the backside, and then up front, it's switching the entire opponent's monster's fields to defense position, letting you run over monsters, giving you that sort of like extra like offensive switch that like some Floodgates don't actually do. Cards like Imperial Iron Wall, cards like Royal Oppression, they're not going to give you that offensive switch that Level Limit Area B does. This card is crazy right now. Do not sleep on this card. Consider it. If your deck can make Bryonic, consider this card. If your deck can play Trunade, consider this card. It is very, very, very powerful and very, very slept on. Definitely one of the most powerful cards in the format. Okay. Getting into the nitty-gritty stuff. I got to talk about the next tech card, which is Trap Stun. Trap Stun goes crazy in the right deck. I have a video coming out soon for members only this week. If you want to become a member for $2.99, I'm going to showcase the power of Trap Stun in that video. I've got a combo deck that goes crazy if you can just flip a Trap Stun. It goes absolutely crazy. The thing about Black Wings, the thing about Vayu, the reason those decks are so strong is because they have a pretty solid fair play. It's like a pretty solid fair play. Summon Sirocco, that's pretty solid. But they have a ridiculous trap card to back it up. So they're saying you can't use your unfair plays to deal with my fair play. The fair play, it's pretty good. But most of the unfair plays in this format, let's talk like, Fall Troll, Cat Fall Troll. Let's talk like, Gigaplant Supervise. Let's talk like Quick Draw Dandy. Let's talk Debris Dragon into Black Rose. Most of the unfair plays are better than what the Blackwing plays are. Most of the unfair plays are better. Even just Summon JD is better than most of what the Blackwing deck is doing. The issue is that their trap cards are stopping you from dropping your Haymakers. If you're playing a strategy that has those Haymakers, if you're playing a strategy that needs to resolve those big combos in order to contest the Blackwing monsters, Trap Stun is going to be your best friend. This card is super solid in those circumstances, and I also really love pairing this card with the next card on the list, Trigodia. I think Trigodia goes absolutely crazy in today's meta. This card is silly stupid. You can start just slapping this card in everything. Honestly, just slap it in every deck. Blackwings, sure. Vayu, sure. Heroes, sure. Put them in the hero deck. Put them in every deck. Just slap them in there. Combo decks, throw them in there. Control decks, throw them in there. Aggro decks, get that Trag in there. The only decks I don't really love Trag in is I don't love them in Fairies because you empty your hand to Herald. I don't super love him in the decks where you're playing heavy discard traps. He's still good there. He's still good in both of those decks. It's just he can be a little bit underwhelming in those decks particularly. And then I also don't really love him in decks where you're like turtling up, like quick draw. But I do love this card, especially in tandem with Trapstun and also in tandem with Level Limit Area B. This card goes crazy. If you have a wide variety of levels to pitch to steal stuff, if you have, low-level monsters, you can make him weaker. In X-Saber's, Trigodia goes crazy. He's like one of the best cards in the X-Saber deck. It's just a really solid card. I love having Trigodia Trapstun in my opening hand because I can just set Trapstun pass. They'll attack, I'll get a huge Trag, and then on my next turn, I have a huge Trag backed up by Trapstun, which is like one of the best feelings in this format. It's very hard to deal with Trag once he hits play. And then, of course, having Trapstun on top of that to prevent him from getting deprisoned, to prevent him from getting, Icarus attacked, whatnot. It's just a good feeling. It's just a good feeling. Love Trag, especially when paired with Trapstun. Okay, next tech card. We're getting into the juice, the real sauce. The real sauce. Okay, Gravekeeper Spy. Now, I've got a little bit of an asterisk next to this guy. In the past, we've seen people use Gravekeeper Spy to summon Gravekeeper's Descendant. However, within the context of this format, I think Gravekeeper's Descendant is a trap. I think it is very, very, very bad. I think actually just playing Spy, or playing Spy plus one Guard is the way to go for this metagame. Guard kind of goes crazy. Bouncing monsters in a Recruiter metagame or a Blackwing metagame is amazing. Blackwings stuck to the normal summon. Or if they're not, they're Synchro Wing, Gravekeepers Guard, high value there. Gravekeeper Spy, insane against Blackwings. Gravekeeper Spy, insane against zombies. It stunts their early aggression. It gives you an extra body to either convert into an Arcanite or a Caius or whatever you're trying to do to convert it. It stops the stupid, annoying little goblin zombie pokes, which is honestly a large percentage of the way this stupid fucking zombie deck kills you, is they just summon a goblin zombie. They just attack you and you're just like, bruh, I drew Mirror Force Torrential. What am I supposed to do? This card is great at just like sitting there, chilling out until you can put something together, or they can, they're forced to go for a big Bionic push early on, and you can stunt that and then hopefully take over the game from there. I do like Gravekeeper's Guard. However, I think all you really need is like 2 to 3 copies of Gravekeeper Spy. If you want to include the Guard, get a little cheeky, that's cool too. But I think Gravekeeper Spy is actually fantastic, and that was pretty much proven by Aleph Yatu's 5th place performance in RBET5. He had 3 Gravekeeper Spies in his Chaos Hero B deck, which is awesome, actually. It worked really well for him against the Blackwing decks in the format, in the tournament. It pretty much hard carried him to the top 8. I mean, it didn't hard carry him. I mean, let's be real. He played really well, but the Spies looked really good every single time he was on camera. They looked solid. Spy plus Caius, it's a good combo. Spy plus any sort of removal, it's 2,400 damage. That's actually big pressure. People really underrate how much damage this card can get in for over the course of a game. If you let this card attack twice, that's 4,800 damage. That's a big deal. It gets in there, does the work, stops Blackwing aggression, stops microaggressions from other decks. It's just a solid +1. The only issue, of course, is drawing multiples, which, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. When you play Spies, you're going to draw a couple Spy every few games or so. I think it's like if you play 2 Spies, it's like a 2% chance to open double Spy. So that's like 1 in 33 matches, roughly. 1 game in 33 matches, you'll open double Spy, which is okay. It's going to happen. It's just the nature of the game. Okay, next tech card. Ooh, we're getting into it. I actually have 16. I said top 15. I actually got 16. This one is huge. And this is one that I think is wickedly underplayed. Like, to the point where I think 0 people are playing it, and I think quite a few people should be playing it. And that's Shiny Black Sea. I think this card is very, very good right now. This card stops all of the Bionic pushes. This card stops Armed Wing coming out. This card is insane when you're playing certain cards that can put it into the graveyard effectively. It just gives you this extra kill spell, this extra layer of interaction through Heavy Storm, through Cold Wave even, through Trap Stun, through all of it. It just gives you a layer of interaction. It basically forces your opponent to throw away a Synchro Monster or play into certain cards. I think this card is exceptionally good in zombies, actually. This is the deck that I think it shines in the most, no pun intended. You can pitch it off of Zombie Master, you can pitch it off of Wind Blast. You can pitch it off of Bionic Dragon of the Ice Barrier and make it very difficult for your opponent to come back against you. Additionally, I think this card is good at, defending your recruiters being in play. A lot of the time, people will try to go into a synchro like Revive King Hades or Bionic or whatever to try and get over your recruiters. And this basically says they have to go into a full synchro before that to even go into that Bionic to get over your recruiter. It puts them in an unwinnable position a lot of the time. Of course, you do got to be careful. It can be banished from the graveyard, it can be shut off by Kaiku, that kind of thing. But this card is actually really slept on. I think it's very good against Vayu. It's also probably okay to play one of in the Vayu deck because you mill so much. I like it a lot in Lightsworn as well because you're milling so much, and this just means that the synchro decks, zombies that normally can give Lightsworn a pretty hard time, actually have to deal with this before they deal with the other stuff. They have to target this with Book of Life instead of your Lightsworn names. They have to deal with this. They have to deal with maybe a Necrogarna that you mill. It can actually put people in a pretty tough situation. In Lightsworn, you can discard it from your hand with Lumina. You can discard it from your hand with Beckoning Light, create some cool interactions there. And then the last deck I think it really, really, really shines in is Quick Draw. This card is very, very good in Quick Draw. You can use this to actually set up crazy situations where if you have this card plus a Stardust in play, your opponent goes into their Stardust, you Shiny Black Sea, kill their Stardust, they negate, you negate their Stardust with your Stardust. It just forces all sorts of crazy stuff. It stops Bionic from bouncing your hamster, it stops all sorts of pushes against you, it stops Revive King Hades from ruining your day. It's just a really, really slept on card. You can pitch it with Quick Draw, you can pitch it with Drill, you can pitch it with Wind Blast if you're playing that. You can also synchro with it straight up. You can synchro with it with the Quick Draw. You can pitch like a whatever and then special Quick Draw, normal summon this, synchro into Quick Draw, or synchro into Drill with the Quick Draw. I think this card is very, very slept on right now. It's good against Blackwings, it's good against Vayu, it's good against Zombies, which are the big three decks, and it just gives you an extra layer of insurance that can't be heavy stormed. It can't be removed in conventional means. I think it's a cool card to consider. And then the last card, the best tech card right now, I think in the entire format is DD Warrior Lady. This card goes stupid. This card goes crazy. Now, you got to pair it with something that can keep you safe. Because a lot of the times, you're going to be crashing this card at a disadvantage, or you're going to be losing your board presence, losing your tempo. So you got to pair it with stuff that keeps you safe. Namely Gores, namely Trag, namely, anything. Honest even. Namely, whatever. You got to pair it with cards that can keep you safe. But this card goes absolutely bonkers crazy. It's one of the best cards in the format against Blackwing. It's one of the best cards in the format against Zombies. And it's legal at 3, which is crazy. It exceptionally shines. I've said that like 6 times in this video. This video is kind of cringe. No lie. I don't do these top whatever lists because I just end up repeating myself for every card. I'm like, this card's amazing. This card's amazing. No, I'm kidding. This card's very good against Zombies because it can clear the recruiters. No questions asked. Just get them banished. No Book of Life for you. No Zombie Master stuff for you. It can clear, any sort of Caius Bionic stuff that's in your way if they make a Synchro monster. Just got to be careful of Revive King Hades with this guy, but for the most part, I said this guy, it's definitely a lady, definitely a woman. Yes, you gotta be careful of Revive King Hades, but for the most part, you can clear anything that gets in your way. It helps you come back against Blackwings. It plays through Kalut. It clears their monsters so they can't blizzy it back. It keeps them off of Darks in their grave for Darkram Dragon. This card is good against Vayu. You can clear the Armed Wing Synchros. You can clear the Sirocco's, banish them, keep them out of the graveyard. This card is good against just about everything. I actually really like this card in almost every single deck that plays Stratos as just a Rhoda target. And then I also like this card in almost every single deck in general. You can just play this in any deck, and I think it's probably fine. You can slap a couple of these in your Blackwing deck, and it'd probably be fine. It gives you an extra Rhoda target. You can go Rhoda for Greffer, or you can go Rhoda for DD Warrior Lady. It lets you set up for Chaos Sorcerer if that's something you want to play. It helps you force back rows. It's a really solid defensive set. It walls out a lot of these little annoying monsters that can attack you, like Sangin, Goblin Zombie, that kind of thing. I just think this is a fantastic tech card for this metagame. Now, I'm sure there are some cards I'm forgetting. I'm sure there are some cards that are really good in this metagame. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Let me know if you like this type of video. This is not a video I do that frequently, but if it's something you enjoy, I might do a bit more of them. Just short form discussion content, talking about how we can approach this metagame with your pet decks, cards we can maybe incorporate into your favorite deck in order to get some discussion going on how to shake up the meta, because I think the meta is a little bit stale right now. And I don't think by any means Blackwing is the best deck or Vayu is the best deck. I think it can definitely be approached from a standpoint where we take things apart, dissect it, and fix it up. But I think some changes need to be made in order for that to actually happen. There needs to be some pushback from the other decks. I can't see another tournament where there's only 4 quick draw decks, man. I love that deck. You guys gotta play some quick draw. You guys gotta step up the tech. I want to see a quick draw deck with DD Warrior Lady, Shiny Black Sea, and Consecrated Light. Let's make it happen. In any case, subscribe, of course. Become a member, of course, if you want to see the new video that's dropping this week with a brand new combo deck, one I've never debuted before. And then, of course, if you want to check out the Pokemon video on my secondary channel, there is a link to that in the description below. I'll see you guys in the next vid. Peace out.